From his time in Hollywood to the unbelievable career path that he almost took. Stay tuned to number 1 to find out 10 crazy facts about Jason Momoa. Number 10. Best performing DC Comics movie ever. The DC Extended Universe, or DCEU as it's called, hasn't always had the best of luck. Strangely, their box office totals were almost always high, but the critical praise was almost never good outside of Man of Steel and Wonder Woman. But with Aquaman, the tide, pun intended, started to change. While it did have the lowest box office opening of all the DCEU films at around $72 million, it had the longest legs of any of the DCEU films. And not only beat all of them out, but he even beat the last 2 Dark Knight films in order to become the highest grossing DC Comics film of all time with over $1.1 billion in revenue. Now, as some point out, a majority of this money was made overseas, especially in China, which loved Aquaman so much that they extended its theatrical run another month, which obviously added more money to it. But that doesn't really count because technically, all of the Marvel movies and the DC movies had big overseas hauls too, and few did as well as Aquaman. Plus, it proves that the B-list heroes of a comic brand could be one of the best performers in terms of movies. I mean, if you were told 10 years ago that an Aquaman film would beat a couple of Batman films, you probably wouldn't have believed them, right? Speaking of which, number 9, breaking the mold. I want you to picture Batman. How does he look? How about Spider-Man or Cyborg? The point here is that these characters all have a certain look, and it suits their personality. Aquaman kinda doesn't. In the comics, he's blonde, Caucasian, and wears a bright orange and green outfit. He was perceived as so weak that in the Super Friends cartoon, he would ride a seahorse and get beat up a lot. But in the comics, he was a boss. Yet people forget about that over time, and so the idea of Aquaman being epic was a foolish notion. So when Zack Snyder decided to start casting his Justice League, he knew he wanted to break the mold of what was perceived as Aquaman and turn him into what he should be. Momoa is Hawaiian in descent, who are a people greatly tied to the waters of the world, and so in Snyder's eyes, he was the perfect fit for Aquaman. And in the now infamous Unite the Seven picture, they made sure people knew that this wasn't going to be the Super Friends version of Aquaman. And sure enough, not only did Aquaman do great at the box office, Momoa was praised for his performance as Arthur Curry, and now everyone knows that the King of the Seas is someone you take seriously, and that Momoa is a really good actor. Speaking of which, number 8, he turned down the role of Drax. Before we talk about this crazy Hollywood story, take a moment to like this video and join the Zero to Hero community by subscribing below. Yep, that's right. Jason Momoa was originally going to be cast as Drax the Destroyer in Guardians of the Galaxy. He interviewed for it and everything. And it wasn't that Dave Bautista did better than him, it was that after looking at the script, Momoa saw that he was being typecast in a way that he did not want. Dave Bautista is perfect for that role. For Drax, it didn't really fit my time because I've done so many things where I don't say much and I'm colored up and I have my shirt off again. I made a conscious choice to turn down some movies that were action-based to direct Road to Paloma so people could see that side. It's not that it's not a good role, it just wasn't the right thing. I was on Stargate Atlantis for 4 years playing a similar character called Ronan, who was an alien who didn't say much and grunted. Been there and done that, whether people have seen it or not, you want to stretch. And it's true. A lot of Momoa's early roles, one I'll talk about later, had him being muscular, physical, and not talking much. For a guy who doesn't want to be known for just those roles, Drax is not the right kind of character for him. Granted, Bautista did an amazing job as Drax in both Guardians of the Galaxy films, and that's not to be taken away from him. But Momoa was right. He doesn't talk much, is basically the muscle of the team, and a lot of his dialogue in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was comedy-oriented and didn't have much depth. In contrast, him being Aquaman allowed him to show off many sides of his acting chops, and that's what he wanted the whole time. So yeah, he turned down one big role, but he made it up with another big role that enhanced his career. Number 7. Artistic background. The They say that we get a lot from our parents, and for Jason Momoa, that couldn't be more true. Both of his parents were very artistic in their own careers. His mother, Connie, was a photographer, and his father, Joseph, was a painter. So right off the bat, the man was destined to be a person who was in the arts. But that, ironically, almost didn't happen. For while he was born in Hawaii, he soon moved to Iowa with his mother. That didn't last forever though, and he moved back to Hawaii to reconnect with his father and learn more things about his heritage, which he greatly values, as you'll soon find out. It was during his time in Hawaii that he got his career in Hollywood, where he had a role in Baywatch Hawaii, which I honestly didn't even know existed until just now. And the rest, as they say, is history. Number 6. Embracing his heritage. As noted, Jason Momoa is Hawaiian in descent, and not only does he love that, he embraces it. His look, as he has it now, is one that is inspired by his heritage. And like many Hawaiians, Samoans, Tongans, and other Polynesian-based cultures, he has tattoos that are representative of his people and their history. Granted, in the Aquaman movie, they went and gave him even more tattoos to enforce that even more. But he has some on his own, including a sleeve tattoo on his left arm that resembles shark teeth. During the Aquaman movie, you can hear Momoa saying chants that his ancestors once said, and during the premiere of the movie, he brought in some of his people and actually did a tribal war dance with them in front of a cheering crowd. It all goes to show just how much Momoa appreciates his heritage, which some people honestly don't at times. But for him, it's a blessing, and it's one that he honors and treasures every single day. And that is to be respected. Number 5. He almost majored in marine biology. Nope, I'm not making this one up. Before he was the king of the seas and before he was an actor in Hollywood, Jason Momoa wanted to be a marine biologist. This occurred during his time with his mother in Iowa. After he graduated high school, he went to a local college to study marine biology. He pursued this for some time, in fact. And he even went to places like the Florida Keys in order to do some hands-on research of the creatures he was studying. After that, he went to Colorado State University to try and finish his degree, but it was during that time he decided to go back to Hawaii and be with his father. And that's what led him down the acting path. However, I bet he told James Wan a bunch of things about fish while making Aquaman. Number 4. He traveled the world to learn. As if being a popular actor wasn't enough, during his life, Jason Momoa has traveled to many different parts of the world in order to learn various things. For example, to mimic his father in a certain way, he went to Paris to be taught how to do pastel painting. Pretty interesting, huh? Then, later on, he went to Tibet in order to study the ways of Buddhism, which you wouldn't expect from a muscular guy like Momoa, but that's what he did. Momoa loves to travel and partake in various things, which makes him a very well-cultured man. Number 3. Pride of Gypsies. If you can't tell by now, Momoa is a man who loves to support the people in his life, and that includes his friends. To the extent that he made a company called the Pride of Gypsies, where he and his friends go and make movies and other projects. Basically, I have tons of amazing writers, friends, directors, actors, and we all go out and shoot movies. That's what we want to do. We love to tell stories. Stories at the end of the day is what it's all about. You sit by a fire. I can sit and listen to Tom Waits tell me a story by campfire that's better than any movie I've ever seen. I want to capture that. And if you noticed, that's why his Twitter handle is called Pride of Gypsies. Number 2. He wasn't always that muscular. A bit vain, but it's true. When you look at Momoa via his roles as Khal Drogo from the Game of Thrones, Conan via the reboot, and of course Arthur Curry, you see a man who is ripped from head to toe and can totally rip you apart if need be. But it wasn't always that way. That's not to say he wasn't muscular in the past, far from it. He almost always had a stacked muscular build, but where he is now is leagues above where he was before, which just goes to show you the dedication that he has to get his body in shape for his various roles. Number 1. He scared people and got the role as Khal Drogo. No, I'm not making this one up either. Easily one of the more famous roles that Jason Momoa did in his career was during the first and technically second seasons of Game of Thrones, where he played the Dothraki chieftain Khal Drogo. He was the husband of Daenerys Targaryen and was supposed to go and lead an army to Westeros in order to win her the Iron Throne. But, spoiler alert, he passed away via injury and witchcraft. While the role was good, it wasn't exactly one that was articulate. which impacted Momoa as noted earlier. And so when he auditioned for the role, Momoa decided to go back to his heritage and actually did a Maori war dance called the haka. This was apparently so good that he scared the casting panel and they hired him to be called Drogo. Sometimes it's all about the attitude. What is your favorite role of Jason Momoa? Let us know in the comments below and take care.